Morning, everyone. I'm Lori Pepinella. I'm the CEO of the Southern Ocean County Chamber of Commerce, and this is our March membership meeting. And we're very excited to have the Business School of Ocean County College with us and the hospitality experts here to really talk about navigating the digital divide. We know that as things get back to normal, there'll probably always remain this need, this hybrid need to connect through digital methods. So we have three great speakers that are going to give you some tips and make things a little bit more familiar. So we're going to start with Jan Kirsten. She's the Executive Director of College Relations at Ocean County College. Jan is responsible for marketing programs, brand management, special events, grants, alumni. Her area of expertise really is conference and events planning, public and media relations and publicity. So good morning, Jan. We have Jim Malman. He works in a variety of business and nonprofit initiatives. He brings an expertise of programming, internet marketing, web design, cloud applications, as well as market research strategies. Jim is a certified Google AdWords partner and instrumental in advancing technical education. So good morning to you, Jim.
Morning.
And then we have Professor Sean Bipps, who certainly we know and love from Chatterfest. Thank you, Sean, for being here this morning. He is chair of Hospitality, Recreation, and Tourism Management Program for OCC. Professor Bipps has held various hospitality managerial positions throughout the United States and Europe, with the primary focus on food and beverage operations, private events, meeting planning, and sales and marketing. So good morning to our panel. And Kate is here. Kate is going to be monitoring the chat, and after our speakers do their presentations, it'll be open for Q&A. So you could just enter things into the chat, or you can message Kate, however you feel comfortable doing that. So we're going to start off the program this morning with Jan.
Good morning, everybody. And I have some OCC people on here. I'm just calling them out. I see Jim Howenstein. I see Mike Forsella. So, I've got some team members here. So I'm happy to see everybody. I'm glad to see people are joining. I know that Zoom time has gotten a little tired, but I'm glad that everybody's participating today. So Lori introduced me with a lot of things that I do, and we are busy at OCC. But I think really today I'm excited to be on a panel with Jim and Sean. The gentlemen that are beside me, at least to my right on this call, have many years of experience, and our goal today is just to give you an overview of things to help with your businesses, and as well as give some understanding of some of the efforts, at least on my part of this presentation, the efforts of OCC. Feel free to ask any questions. And some of my OCC members here, and Roseanne Barr is over there. I see, just checked her out. One of us can answer your questions, or if we can't answer it on this meeting today, happy to follow up at a later date. I know that Kate will be sending out our contact information. So please reach out at any time to ask us any questions if it's not, time doesn't allow for today. The goal is to help the businesses in the southern part of our county to do better. We're in a time where we're sitting like this, and we have businesses that want people to walk into their businesses, to go online and get information about their businesses. And people have a different definition, as I mentioned earlier to Lori, about what is safe. So right now it seems that on the digital front, we want to share with you today some of the best practices that we have. We have, later on, I want to go over a new app that we have, Handshaken. I found out from Lori today that the Southern Chamber has been promoting this. I am glad that they are. I think this is a great opportunity for the local businesses and for our students and for our alumni. It's a partnership that is a no-brainer. So we'll go into that in a couple minutes, but just wanted to go over what OCC does on a social media front to engage and connect with the community. And hopefully you can take away some of the key steps that we have. We make decisions based on data. You know, there's always a thing you can say, I'll throw this up on the wall, hopefully it'll stick. I heard somebody else is doing it. But sometimes that type of method costs money. And in this era, we don't really have those type of funds to play with. We want to make sure that we make decisions that are based on information that we have gotten from different sources to do outreach. You know, we talk about and look and advertise based on new and upcoming careers, what's going on in different fields. We also need to find out from you and from other industries what's going on, what you're looking for. Does it need a degree? Does it need a certification? What type of certification? And then, you know, break down from that information, did a campaign work? Did it not work properly? And you want to make sure that all of that information is shared with those around you. Make sure you have a team. We don't live in a vacuum. You want to make sure that people can share their information and pass it on. One of the factors that we use is just strategic planning. We put things into place and give them some time to percolate, if you will. That's an old time term. I'm using that, but we don't make decisions drastically. If we see that a social media campaign is not working in the first week, we look at it and say, did we reach the consumer the right way? Did we send the right message? Is the video that we set up correct? Is the picture that is on our ad digitally representative of the community that we're trying to obtain? All of those different items really help with your social media campaign. And then after that, you know, you need to give it a little bit of time and then say, the content that I put out there, is it a relevant message? So if you see that people are not clicking on your social media posts, you need to look at it and say, I thought I did it the right way, but let me look at it again and reflect back on it, and then maybe repost something new. It doesn't hurt to change a few keywords. And I know Jim will go into some of that later. But you know, and also is when someone clicks on your ad for social media and they're going to your site, what's there? What are they seeing? Is it something new and different? Or is it the same thing you just told them on the ad? What is the incentive once they get to your site? If you have videos that are on your site, are they engaging? We track how long someone sits on a video. If they click off that video after 15 seconds, we know that the video is not engaging and it's not working. So we go back to the drawing board and make a couple of different changes, and then we look. The other part is your landing page where they're going. Is the content refreshed on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? With being virtual, you need to be looking at that at least once a week and seeing if the content is relevant to what people want to see. And if there are returning customers, what are the incentives, the discounts, the opportunities for them to want to come back time and time again? And we do the same with email blasts. We send information out. We look at, you know, what our bounce rates are on different pieces of information. The national average for bounce rates is about 50%. Our bounce rate is about 26.16%, which means we're looking, we're taking it back, we're going back out, we're doing something right. And you want to make sure that your bounce rate is low, because if people start to opt out, they're not coming back and you can't reach them. So you really want to make sure that you can hold your customers. So that's really important. So I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I do want to talk about Handshake. And again, Lori mentioned it earlier. I know that some of the people on this call have actually heard about it. Can anybody raise their hand? I just want to see visually people know about it. I know Jim Howenstein's going to raise his hand, but just people know about Handshake. So this is an app. And if you're interested, it's www.joinhandshake.com. And what this is an app that the college is using, our career services department, as well as anybody that is out in the community. And this app helps our students, alumni connect with different businesses to obtain careers, more jobs, and internships across the county. What's nice about it when we're partnering with career services is that it allows local businesses to collaborate with one another and with our students and alumni. Also, any business or any employer can post positions to this app and is able to see if some of our students and alumni are interested in those jobs. And then also it helps to manage interview schedules. So that tends to get a little sticky once in a while when you're trying to manage different people coming in and out, especially on Zoom, and time is, again, limited. It's easy to communicate on there. And the app also helps our students plan out what their careers should be, and what they like to do versus what they may need to do. Kind of like the old time Myers-Briggs test, but it helps them. It's called My Plan, but it helps them to expand their knowledge on what industries are out there and what they may be interested in. So if you have a chance, go to that site. Also, it's also on, on Apple and Droid search functionality. You can find it, but it's called Handshake. So try it out. And I think that's it for me for right now. I'd like to hand it off to my colleague. So please.
I guess that's me.
It's you, Jim.
Good morning. This is Jim Wallman from NetCetra. I started NetCetra 27 years ago, so I've been around the internet since dial-up. I had a 14.4 modem when we started, so I'm kind of familiar with everything that's going on out there. We have our sales, design, and marketing offices are in Toms River, and our data center is in Walla Walla, Washington. It's so nice, you got to say it twice, and we're surrounded by 180 wineries, so it's a great place to go out to. It's just like Northern California, actually. There's very little snow out there. I'm going to touch on two topics. If I can reach the third, I will. The first one I want to talk about, I do seminars for Google and for SCORE in Monmouth, and Ocean asked me to start doing them as well. And one of the first things I've learned to do from years of having a data center and thousands of hosted websites is to review their domain name. Simple enough, but it can cause all kinds of havoc if you do not know where it is, what registrant, who owns it, and who manages it. One of the most common things that happens with domain names is you have and this is no reflection on someone that doesn't decide, that designs and us, but usually young designers, they have more in mind than just registration. So they register the name for you and they quickly put their information in as the registrant, the owner, everything. And what happens then is all of a sudden their email address, which is the most important thing, gets all the messages and you don't. So you say, okay, well, listen, Mary, I want you to just set up the domain name for 2 years. Let's see how it goes. They set it up, and 30 days before that 2 years is up, the designer gets the message that says, you got 30 days to renew your name or we're going to take it down. And A, the designer had to keep that same email address, and B, they have to remember who you are and if they're going to get a hold of you, because a lot of times they're not in business anymore if they're young, or even a lot of design firms don't stay around too often. So the first thing that I do with everyone is, and I'm gonna, I can believe I can screen share now. I'm gonna go to internic.net. That's internic.net. And if you remember, and you may be too young to remember this, but years ago, Al Gore handed off they claimed he invented the internet. Well, what he did was he took the government database of domain names and he handed it off to a public business. And Internic was what it started with Network Solutions. Network Solutions actually had the responsibility. It got to be a little heavy duty, so they moved it to Internic. So if you go to Internic, and I'm going to go there now, and I'm going to show you how to quickly do this. Okay, so this is Internic, and this is actually a government, this is the database where every domain name is. If it's not here, it does not exist. I don't care what the last three, .com, .net, .biz, you name it, it's there. Now, what you have to do is, and you've probably heard this term, if not, you should know it. It's called Whois. And Whois what you click on, and Whois what we use in the industry to say, who owns this domain name? Now, because of all the hacking and the people jumping domain names, it's changed dramatically over the last 2 or 3 years. It used to be you did the Whois and you saw everybody's information and you quickly figured out the registrant, and this is kind of strange the way we do it, but we're all nerdy tech, so that's why we do it this way. The registrant is the person that actually owns the business. So if you have someone, if you look at yours and you see you're not owning it, you have to change that over. Then you have the top contact administrator. That's the person that makes the first level or top level description and changes in permissions. The second is the technical support. Normally when we do it, we keep the registrant and the contact administration as the owner, and we're the technical. So in case something happens to the owner, like they use a Hotmail address and then all of a sudden they switch to Gmail and they don't get these messages, we get them. And then we can alert them to saying, well, 30 days it's coming up, you got to do something. And then we put in the correct email address. But we try to move everything over to the owner so that not only are they responsible, but they're aware. Because once you get past 30 days, 1 minute past 30 days, there's now this collection of companies that will grab the name. And even if you say, well, look, I'm getting 500 people a month that come to my website. How much do you want for my domain name to get it back? Well, it's going to be $4,000. And this is a very, very common practice now. So you can either say, all right, well, I'm going to change the domain name from .com to .net, which means any printed information is now worthless. Your business cards, brochures, your search on the internet changes. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you have the correct information. So I'm going to use my domain name as the thing. So I'm putting in my domain name, no www, no HTTP, and then I'm doing the lookup. And now here it tells me two things that are very important. First, it tells me the registered domain. This is the name that we picked. There's the name servers. That's where it's located. And you can see that the client, it's prohibited. All right, you can't transfer, you can't look at it. But here's what it tells you. This is the important information. That's the registrar information. That's who controls the domain name. Even if you go through a reseller, like you can see, we are resellers for OpenSRS 2Cows. 2Cows is the one that actually controls it. And this confuses a lot of people. So if you have a problem, you have to come to us first, and then we let you into 2Cows. Same thing with Network Solutions, same thing with Register.com, GoDaddy. They all do it exactly the same way. Then the next thing you should do is, and let me see if I can get this so you can see it, because I can't see it right now. Okay, so now here's the, this is going to OpenSRS, or 2Cows is what we call it, OpenSRS. So when you go in there, again, they hide all your information because hackers are known to get in there. And you may have gotten this already. You get it through the mail, which a registrant never uses regular mail, never. You'll get an invoice. Oh, your domain name is up. You need to send us $250 to maintain your domain name. Never do it. What most people do is they contact our customer support team and they ask us, and we tell them right away what is going on. But you can see it's redacted for privacy. That's the standard in the industry now. But the one thing it does give you is this right down here, which is the most important thing. There's the person to contact regarding your domain name. So once you have that person and you call them up, they will give you the information. You should be able to go to the reseller of Two Cows, Network Solutions, GoDaddy, and through that, you can go in. If you can't remember the password, you use your domain name, you tell them you forgot it, they'll send it to you, and then you'll see everything listed. Who's the contact, who's the registrant, who's the technical contact. That all information has to be done perfectly. If you do it right, you will never lose your domain name. Another thing I tell people, because domain names are very inexpensive, when you do a domain name first time, yeah, do it for a year or two if you're not sure. But after that, you do it for the max. And I think they just upped the max to 9 or 10 years. Just do it for the max. Get it off your plate. Keep that information in a safe place. And just remember that email address is the most critical thing. Without that, and you contact like us or GoDaddy, we're going to ask you to take a copy of your utility bill, something that'll prove who you are, so we don't let anybody else in. So this is the number one thing that I go over with everyone when when I do these seminars for Google and SCORE, because this always causes major problems. And the last thing you need is your website going down because of something like the wrong email address. So my advice to you is, if you're not sure, as soon as you finish with the seminar, get on it and figure it out. You can always go to netcetra.com and you'll see on the right-hand column, there's a who is that'll bring you right to Internic, and you can go in there and you can figure out who your registrant is. My second point is we're going to go over Google My Business, the Google Knowledge Box. This is becoming probably the most important thing when you do a Google search. A knowledge box is, if you can see it to the right here, I use one of my clients who's a developer, and it's Summerfield West. Now, what happens normally is, if you look for a home developer in Williamstown, New Jersey, a map pops up with a bunch of pins, and it shows you all the different locations for those kind of developments. And then once you narrow it down, then your knowledge box will pop up. And this is your knowledge box. The most important thing to do is, do you own this business? Yeah, even if you don't own it, Google is going to give you this knowledge box because it's extremely important. This is like the yellow pages of the internet. And this has become something that Google has worked on quite diligently to make sure that it's done right. You can see that they have a picture, they have the map where it is. Photos, we put in more photos. They're a marketing as well as design and hosting client. And we actually put in different photos so you can go through them and you can see the different aspects of it. Because this is something that the spiders from Google will look at. You can see our Google reviews are right on top. Very, very important. The first time somebody sees this, you want to make sure you have good credibility. So you have the Google reviews. And then the reviews are down here. You can see them. There's Q&As if you want to ask questions. It tells you when they're open, when they're closed. And you will find, I got a lot of them coming in from Google just recently because Easter's coming up. So Google wants to know, is your business going to be open for Good Friday in one of your hours? Change it on the Google Knowledge Box. So this is extremely critical, and this is something you can do yourself, or that's what people like us do. And then we tie this in with the, with the regular SEO. So it's called the Google Knowledge Box, and just put a search in for your business and it'll pop right up and you can start working on it. Another good way to learn how to do it is go to YouTube and put in Google My Business or Google Knowledge Box, and they'll walk you through how to do it. So those are the two things. I don't know how my time is, but very quickly, Jan was talking about how they work on their analytics. You should be mindful if you're using Google Analytics. There's a new Google Analytics out. It's called G4, and it's going to it's typical Google. It's going to change everything. They're going to go into streaming. And if you set up a new Google account now, you can set it up the old way. Good luck trying to find how to set it up because they're hiding all that stuff. They want you to use the new one, even though the new one is actually in beta form. So this is typical Google. We learned that you just don't get frustrated. You just laugh at it and you just move along. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sean, and thank you.
So thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. And good morning, everyone. So I hope everyone's doing well. And I wanted to first thank Lori for inviting me to this event and being part of the panel. And today I'm going to be talking about the topic of generating bookings during COVID with digital advertising. All right, so that's what we're looking at from my side. And just to give you a little perspective, my background is hospitality, tourism, and recreation management. I have dabbled also in the world of business development. And also while I was working over in Europe, I actually was the director of sales for TravelClick. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with that company, but TravelClick is actually a software solution for the hospitality industry. So Lori's kind of having me put on that hat today. And I'm happy to share some of my experience and knowledge from that part of hospitality. So what I would actually do when I was the director of sales in that position over in Europe, I would actually sit down and meet with the hotel general manager, meet with the director of sales and marketing, have a coffee or two. By the end of the day, I was, enough of coffee in my system for the week, but really just have different one-on-one consultations with, GMs and sales and marketing to talk about what's going on in their property. So I was thinking to myself, if I were in that position today and I was getting in the car or if I was getting on the train and I was going to go sit down with, these GMs in the world we're living in now, what would change with that conversation, right? And there are quite a few things that would be different. And first and foremost, and I tell this to my students, no one's staying anywhere unless you feel safe, right? Can everyone agree with me on that? So safety and security is number one. I don't care if you have the most beautiful front lobby or you have the most amazing customer service, which you should, by the way, all your staff members trained to do what's right? You have to have a safe environment. And I think we really need to, portray that and show what we're doing in order to make people feel safe. And it's almost as if you want to kind of have them walk through the experience before they actually walk through your door, right? So that really gives them the way to kind of feel and expect those safety protocols in place that you are establishing. So in order to do that, we can think about using such techniques with the way we generate bookings and advertising by putting in such practices. So I'm going to talk about a couple key things here. The area of GDS, which stands for Global Distribution System. I'm actually taking some notes from Amadeus Hospitality. So, as a professor, I have to give my reference, but Amadeus does give some great pointers, and I want to just reflect on a couple of these things. So as a hotel operator, and I am focusing specifically on lodging today, a couple of key things to think about and ask yourself by analyzing one, your CRM, right, or your customer relationship management database, and two, looking at your GDS. Now, GDS is information that comes to the hotel and basically is booked through travel agents around the globe. So Amadeus is one of the major channels. So that's why I wanted to give that reference. So a couple things to ask is, one, how is demand trending in your area? So you obviously want to see where demand's coming from. What can you capitalize on? Two, how much of that demand are you actually capturing? So what's your capture ratio, right? So you want to look at that as well. Are people booking stay dates in the near future or months in advance? And when I talk about people who are booking in advance, hotels especially have to be really sensitive to things like cancellation policies, right? We have to also think about, how flexible can you be with changing a reservation? That's important in the current age that we're in right now, dealing with this virus. Flexibility is really, really super important. And also corporate or leisure travel, right? So we know that corporate business has really diminished and leisure travel has been picking up. I hear great stories. I have great trends and data from Lori about all the businesses that are pretty much getting filled up for the summer again in the shore communities. So it's really exciting to hear. One thing I want to point out is one that you want to think about, right? So market conditions, right? So if you have a hotel and you have space, and we were just talking about this before the call, a little bit about what Airbnb has been doing, having that private space, having that extra yard, having that apartment to stay in versus going into a small unit like a hotel. What can you do to be more effective in making people feel comfortable to come to your property? And maybe it's reinventing your lobby or changing the way your restaurant's designed, or for events, having it on a rooftop or having it in the back courtyard, changing the way you can actually offer these things in a safer way. And that's what I was talking about when I opened up today, painting the picture and giving people that visualization of what they can expect when they come to the property. So also don't forget that with events, I'm also an event planner myself, you can also consider hybrid, right? So a hybrid event is where you have people that are brought to the event virtually, and you have them meet with the people at the event who are there face to face, right? So that's also a really important thing to highlight when you're doing digital marketing. You want to talk about the fact that you're capable of doing such things like hybrid events. So what we're talking about really, and what Amadeus kind of focuses on when they talk about some of these key points on generating bookings with digital advertising, is we want to move the spend. All right, so when we say move the spend, shift the spend, we want to spend our resources that we're using for marketing on the people that are actually still traveling. Makes sense, right? So we want to make sure that we're honing in our target markets. In order to do that, we have to look at our CRM and we have to look at our GDS. Now, one thing to note also that's important is you want to also, and I know Jan and Jim also kind of touch on this in their own particular ways, own your name with brand ads, and don't let the competition show up basically before you, right? So that means you want to use something called search engine optimization, right? So you also want to make sure that you're coming up as Hotel XYZ versus, some of these other online travel agencies. We call them OTAs in the industry, right? So because you want, obviously, anyone who works in a hotel or has knowledge of what a hotel business is all about, is we don't want to pay those commissions to those third parties, right? So the name of the game is direct bookings, right? So through digital advertising, you want to make sure you're pushing that channel of business through your front door, through your front website, as we could say, right? So or how we could look at it from a positioning standpoint, right? How we can look, how we can give this image of being safe, giving this image that we're affordable, that we're flexible on reservation cancellation, that we're being competitive in terms of price. All those things make a difference. But again, always coming back to that key thing right now, I really think the essential piece is safety and security, right? So don't let that important focus slip when you're going through these stages. Another thing is leverage your contact list, right? That's so important. So you want to look to see that you're using your CRM data correctly, that whatever you've done, the efforts you've already put in to collect information, whether it be from mailers, looking at zip codes, if it's looking at surveys you sent out, if it's looking at your analytics from your social media, all those things are important to make use of and make sure that you're targeting, again, people that are still traveling, right? Because if we're targeting those that are not ready to travel yet, it's a waste, or it's you could say it's money that's not well spent. Also, increase regional targeting once regions start opening, right? So this could depend upon what region you're actually looking at. Obviously, for our purposes, you would say we still want to make sure we're bringing in the people from not only New Jersey but also from New York and Pennsylvania, right? So how do we do that? It's a matter, again, of using those proper tools and functions that we have in place through the different campaigns that we're running, and also through the different types of social media that we're utilizing. So 2 last points here. This one talks about include rate guarantees. Like I said before, mention flexible rebooking policies. Amadeus, they state the following: generating reservations now has a valuable for future remarketing, even if the guest subsequently cancels, right? So you want to think about how you can make that flexibility one of your strengths. And Another thing to note, since I'm also a food and beverage guy, I've worked in that part of the industry probably about 75% of my time in, whether it be hotels or meeting planning or catering, emphasize food and beverage, right? So what can we do to bring people to a hotel and make them understand you still have those services? Even if it's just room service, it's still food and beverage, right? It's still added value for the guest. So, and how food and beverage is done, right? So again, coming back to that safety element, right? So again, spelling it out. And of course, this one might seem really obvious, but it's worth putting out there. Make sure you're using images that are appropriate. So don't have a picture of two people shaking hands or maybe giving each other hugs. Maybe be more sensitive to that, right? So think about how you can be careful. I remember I was at a car dealership the other day, and there was a poster on the wall, and there was a handshaking, and there was a circle and a cross through it, and it says, "It just makes sense." I thought that was pretty clever, right? No offense, it just makes sense. So I thought that was pretty clever. No, not a hotel, but it was a car dealership. It's still pretty smart. So all in all, what I would say is, think about those key things. Think about, how you're going to be able to utilize that spend. We're seeing a lot of hotels also partner up with, Lysol, with Clorox. There's things you can do as well to kind of use these things called tangible cues. We use that in the marketing world to kind of illustrate that safety element and show that we're doing the right thing. In the meeting world, campaigns that are coming out, plan well, meet well, right? So you can see the advertising, the marketing that's being used, it's really evolving around this sense of security. So I hope those few pointers and strategies can help you all out. If not for a hotel, even from a standpoint of a general business, I think those can also be applicable. So that's all I have from my side today. And thank you again for allowing me to share my wisdom and knowledge. Since this is a platform for me and I'm a business guy as well, I'm going to go ahead and put my website out for my hospitality program for everyone to check out if you don't mind. So thanks so much again, Lori. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I think that there's a lot of information that was very valuable for all businesses. Kate, I know you've been monitoring the chat. Do we have any questions or any comments that the panelists might need to hear?
I haven't seen anything come through. I think there was a lot of great information that was given, so it might still be processing through.
I have a quick question for Jim. You had mentioned the Google Knowledge Box and that businesses, even if it's not their own, can go in and edit it. Did I understand that clearly? Is there a way to protect the business or, to have ownership of that valuable space?
You can. Google is, it used to be where you could go in and do it. Now we do it for our clients, but what happens is, first of all, Google wants you to create a business Gmail address. That's very important. And they don't, if you have a personal one, don't use it because you're just going to commingle your personal stuff with all this stuff coming from Google. So what they suggest you do is if you don't have it, create a Google Gmail business account and then use that to claim the ownership. If you don't, then what happens is they're going to go through this verification system where it's going to be very difficult for anyone who is not you to claim it because it's going to refer back to the website. It's going to refer to a few things for security, but in the long run, you're going to have your business Gmail account and usually a cell phone so they can text the verification code. They like to use two forms of verification.
Okay, thank you. And I got another one this is regarding nonprofits for Sean or for Jan. How does someone know when to start and stop a campaign? If it's regarding, say, a specific event, they're not sure if they're going to be able to host it the way they normally do. Is it something that they should wait? What used to be maybe 30 days? Is it something that they should be doing 15 days or 10 days? Is there any standard for that? in this climate?
I mean, from my standpoint, I would say more flexibility that you can offer, the better,
Mhm.
because just due to the fact that times are always changing, right? There's always going to be that possibility of having to move something around. So I would say try to extend it as far as you can, and just be transparent. I don't know, Jan, do you want to add to that, or would you
No,
agree?
no, I think you're spot on, Sean. I think everybody is cognizant of being flexible now. And if you are putting something out there 30 days, I think the practice is still there, and saying that it is going to be, say, face to face. If for some reason we have to adjust and shift because the CDC or the governor changes the regulations and the requirements, the most important thing is to get the information out that you are going virtual. And I think more people understand today than the shifting of an event pre-COVID. So I think it's still 30 days out. Just understand, and I think everybody else does understand, that it may not occur face to face, and to be available to shift.
Mhm. And then there's just a question that just came through. I'll read it. It says, we are having trouble removing the doctor's old practice information on Google. We tried the postcard, but now the info is appearing at both the old and new locations. So any recommendations?
I can kind of answer that. This is a major problem, and it got worse with COVID because it used to be that Google My Business, they would have support people that would answer those questions. And I, as a Google partner, I meet with my reps every 10 days, week to 10 days. I even have a difficult time getting them to find some other information that's not part of their platform. But I will give you an 800 number. And when you call it, they will ask you if you're interested in Google Ads or Google My Business. And normally, and this changes quite a bit, so be prepared. They will give you some way of getting through to them. And the problem is they're just overwhelmed. So the number I have for them is 800-877-2981. That's
Can you
800,
say that again? I'll just type
Yeah.
it in the chat.
800,
800.
877-2981.
Okay.
And if you happen to have a Google AdWord account, you can actually go through your Google AdWord account, speak to that person. They can't help you, but they can direct you because they consider you a little more valuable because you're spending bucks with them.
Mhm.
So, that's probably the best you can do. When COVID's over, I don't know, but I know that they have released a lot of those customer service reps, unfortunately.
Okay, so I don't see anything else. Kate, do you? I think we've done the session. Again, I want to thank Roseanne. I see Roseanne there. So thank you, Roseanne, for working with us for the business school at OCC. And of course, Jan, Jim, and Sean for sharing your knowledge with us this morning. Before we close out, I just have a few announcements for some spring events that are coming up. April 14th, we have our spring nonprofit forum, communicating impact, strategic messaging for today's nonprofit. April 21st, we have our membership meeting, and that's going to have Senator Connors, Assemblyman Rumpf, and Assemblywoman Gove as our panel. April 25th, we have our virtual wedding roadshow and party planning tour. April 27th, Women in Business, that should be in person with guidelines in place at the backyard at Terrace Tavern. And then May 5th, we actually have attorney Fansberg discussing cannabis in New Jersey, employer rights and responsibilities. So just keep an eye out for all that information that we have coming on. And when we got a thing from Seaview, yes, we also, thank you, Michael. We also operate an in-event platform for businesses that need to do conferences, or if you want to have business expos. And Samantha just did one with Seaview Ortho, and it went very well. So if anybody's interested in that platform for your business or for a convention, just contact our office and we could work with you. So if that's everything, I'll let Kate close it out.
Could I just say thank you to Lori and Kate for allowing us this opportunity to speak with you. You know, we're very grateful to the Southern Chamber for all of their efforts and all of their collaboration. And so on behalf of OCC, I just want to say thank you. And if OCC can ever be a resource to you in any way, we're very happy to do that. So my name's easy. It's Roseanne Barr, hard to forget. And it's just RBAR, go to the bar and get a drink, 1R, at ocean.edu. If there's any way that, you know, we could help you, we do have opportunities for project-based learning where, you know, business problems can be brought to our students. You know, please just reach out. If there's any creative way that we could help you, any kind of partnerships in which we can work together, please don't hesitate. Again, RBAR at ocean.edu. And again, a very sincere thanks to Lori and Kate for helping us make this happen. We so appreciate your ongoing support for the college. So
Yeah, well,
thank you.
it's such a great asset and such a great team there. And we're so proud of our community college in Ocean County. And also just a quick push for our Sink and Swim event coming up in April as well. I'm very honored to be a judge for your students and just really excited to see what they're bringing to the table this year.
And Lori, if I can just jump in, just to remind your members, if they are looking for summer employment, we do have the job fair coming up April 7th. If you need information, you're interested through Join Handshake, Jan mentioned it earlier, Roseanne, this is part of the outreach you just mentioned, but just send me an email at sec@ocean.edu and I'll get the connections with Chris Carbone and our career services so that we can hook you up for that April 7th event, trying to help you out with your summer employment.
Yeah, so important, you know, again, that these hybrid components, virtual, in person, meeting everyone where they need to be during these difficult times. So thanks again, OCC. We really do appreciate you and the time spent this morning. And again, we'll be sending out the information that this recording will be available on YouTube. And we have a lot of great events coming up in April. So we wish everybody a wonderful day. And thank you again for spending your morning with us.